I am Ken with yet another I am Ken report. It's good to see that you're waking up with the full understanding that the system's corrupt, bouncing your weight pound for pound. Keep liberty moving from town to town.
G. Edward Griffin, what a way to start the interview with you. And I wanted to take calls when you're on and just get into the general news and your take on the world. Where does this all end? I guess we're seeing the fruits of globalism, the fruits of the New World Order, and Obama promises a life raft of more of the same.
Alex, those are all the big questions, aren't they? Where does it all end, and what do you do about it? And those two questions are really tied together, because what you do about it may affect how it all ends. I guess the most important thing is, what do you do about it right now? I think the answer depends to a large extent on who they are, what their talents are, what their age is, what their characters are like. But in general, it all adds up to one thing. You used the word before, resistance. And then we have to go further than resistance. We have to become assertive. We have to follow the analogy I made in my presentation when I launched Freedom Force International. I posed the problem of here we are on board a ship, this great luxury liner, and we're all having a good time, and we find out that the ship has been captured. The captain of the ship has been thrown overboard, and all of the crew members have either been killed or put into the brig, and now all the pirates are walking around wearing the uniform of the captain and the crew, and the passengers on the ship have no idea that their ship of state, so to speak, has been captured by pirates. And the question I posed is, now we happen to see it all happen, and we tried to tell our other passengers on board the ship. We said, did you know that the captain really isn't the captain, that it's a pirate and all this? And they look at us like we're crazy, and they say, get out of here. But look, the ship is still going along fine. We're having good meals, aren't we? The music is playing and all that sort of thing. So the question arises, what do you do? And I go through a whole litany of things of, well, you can try and escape, you can try and hide, you can try and sign a petition, pass a petition around the crew, and write letters to the captain and say, won't you please, stop being a pirate and so forth. I go through all of these idiotic things that people do in modern society, trying to overcome the fact that our ship has been captured by pirates. And finally, ticking them all off, none of them will work except one. And there's only one. And that is to recapture the ship. And once you get that clearly in mind, then the answer to the question, what do you do, becomes fairly clear. Everything you can do aimed in the direction of recapturing control of the system and getting these pirates out of the
exactly. But first, you've got to let the general public know these are pirates in the captain's uniform.
Absolutely. Yeah, because you can't do this alone. And that's the point. You need lots of help, and you need an organized effort, and you need coordinated effort, and you need smarts. You need strategy and tactics, and you need all kinds of things.
And not to debate the pirates. They've learned to play this game of going, we're not pirates, when everything they're doing is piratical. They're caught lying on every front. They're and now we're starving in our staterooms. The power's off everywhere but up on their party deck. Now they're dragging our wives off to have sex with them. Now they're throwing people overboard. Now they're disappearing people on the ship that said, hey, they're pirates. I mean, now people know they're pirates more and more.
Yeah, more and more, they still do, but there are a lot of them that don't. And the ones that do know still are in kind of a state of apathy. They don't know what to do.
Or they're scared of the pirates.
Yeah. And they don't have any inkling of what to do about it. And they keep thinking that, well, I'm only one person. What can one person do? And that's the core. We've got to get organized. We've got to get together. We've got to stop bickering with each other.
Well, look at what you've done in 45 years. Look at what I've done in 18. When we have reached tens of millions of people apiece, other folks need to understand that you're powerful as well. Engage the enemy. How do we do that?
Well, everybody has their own talents, other people are more quiet in their approach. Some people work quietly, within their church groups and with the PTA and so forth. But everybody has their thing, maybe just within your family and your circle of friends. But whatever it is, figure it out quickly and do it. get your information and start passing this information through. Don't be afraid of being rejected by it. I mean, that's the thing that scares most people. They're all wilting flowers. You know, it reminds me of the old days on radio. They had a show, and it was the Bashful Salesman, and it was a comedy routine, and you would always hear it. He was afraid. He was a salesman, but he was afraid of rejection. So the scene was, you had a little knock, 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 knock. Nobody home. I hope, I hope, I hope. You know, this is how we are.
I've seen that. Yeah, it's funny.
Yeah, it is funny. But we still have that built into us. So we got to get rid of that, because rejection, that's nothing compared to what lies ahead if we don't take the ship back.
Gee, Edward, what's going to happen in the paradox, and what do we do from your research perspective that you got more and more people waking up that we're in deep trouble and we got a really nasty version of tyranny? And then you've got others that are embracing it and absolutely feel like they're part of the power structure now, even though it abuses them. I mean, this is biblical level, what I'm seeing happen. The quickening of mental illness in the general public versus the quickening of awakening. I mean, I'm really seeing some science fiction type stuff going on right now.
It's true. It has all the stuff of a very dramatic story. A fiction writer couldn't have created anything more dramatic than the rising tide, I guess you would call it. Tides on both sides. As you said just a moment ago, the public is awakening. There's more awareness, and it's becoming exponential. And you think, my gosh, we're going to win because the public is beginning to understand. But by the same token, the opposition, the totalitarian forces are also rising like a tide, and one by one the last few barriers against their unrestrained actions have been removed, and so they're moving faster and faster. I think about the only thing that restrains them is their lack of ability to administer this plan. It's like Obamacare. They've got this beautiful thing in their mind. It's a beautiful thing. It's a horrible thing, of course, but they don't know how to administer yet. They haven't got it all tied together. So I think that's really what's
exactly. The Nazis were very well ordered and followed orders well and had a large work ethic, unfortunately. One good news about the globalists is their minions are so incredibly stupid that it's very hard for them to carry things out. It's our compliance that empowers it.
Well, there's no question about our compliance and our lack of resistance. Also, there's a midpoint there where between we don't comply, but we don't resist either. We don't know what to do. We're just sort of paralyzed, like that little mouse that's been hypnotized by the snake or bitten with a little bit of venom, and he's paralyzed. He doesn't know. He just sits there and shakes. Thinks, oh my gosh, that snake's going to eat me. Sure enough, the snake eats him because he doesn't run away. The point though is that both of these forces I see are rising very rapidly and exponentially right now, and I can't imagine that this can go on much longer, certainly not even another generation, I don't think, before it comes to a head. And we'll know because we'll be living in the final resolve of this conflict. Hopefully guys like you and like me do our job. Our side, the forces of freedom and awareness, will rise faster than the forces of tyranny. It's going to be a close call no matter how you call it, but they're sure, as they say, these are exciting times to live in.
The point is, wake somebody up. I mean, look, I'd say there's probably, 50, 60 million libertarian patriots or more in this country, very conservatively, more like 100 million that are somewhat awake. If we'd all just wake up a couple people and then get those people to do a little something to expose the system, G. Edward Griffin, wouldn't that begin to really shake it to its foundations?
It's already happening, isn't it? But yes, it just needs to be continued. It needs to be amplified. It would shake the system to the foundation. There's no doubt about it. That's the one thing they fear, is that critical mass should be reached. And by critical mass, it's not just numbers. It's not just a certain mathematical formula. But in this case, a critical mass could be reached by as few as maybe 15% of the population, if that 15% was active, if they were really out doing something about it. Now, if they're all just a bunch of riders in the boat and not pullers at the oars, well, then it might take 60 or 70%, you know? So our goal is to get that 15% or whatever it is, that critical mass out there and shaking the system right to its roots. If you want to know what they will do, see what they have done when they have come to power. And all you need to do is just see what Stalin did and the number of people who were eliminated, murdered, imprisoned, tortured, put into slave labor camps. See what Mao Zedong did, see what Castro did. Just look and see what Hitler did, and you know what will happen. Now, it happened in a very sequential manner. I had an opportunity years ago to interview a fellow by the name of Yuri Bezmenov, who was a Soviet defector. He was a very high-ranking officer in the KGB, and he defected to the West, and I had a chance to meet him, and I put him on camera, interviewed him, and we talked about this very topic. And he said, when we come to power, when he's talking about we, he meant his former affiliation with the Communist Empire. He said, the first people we pick up and eliminate were the intellectuals who supported us. I said, what? He said, yes, of course. Think it through, Ed. He said, think it through. These are the people who were fooled. They were the smart people, but we fooled them. And once they realize that they were fooled and cheated, they're going to be mad, and they're going to turn against us, and they will be dangerous. So we must get rid of them first. Oh my gosh, that makes a lot of sense. And then when you look at history, and you see that is exactly what happened every time collectivism comes to power. And of course, they round up everybody that they think is going to be potential opposition and get them out of the way. Folks, you're not going to like it. You've got to stop it. You can't wait until afterwards and say, well, how do we rebuild the system? You've got to stop the collapse of the system. That's why I said earlier, we must recapture control of the ship before it hits the rocks. There's no choice.
And when you really listen to almost all of Obama's czars, they go, we love Mao. We're going to have re-education camps. We're going to put libertarians and conservatives in them. And they're not playing games. And they fantasize about their militias they're going to have and how they're going to come get us. And, I mean, I got news for them. I'm not like you looking for a fight because I've never been in one. I've been in a couple. And I'm not looking for trouble. But listen, I'm not going to any camp. My kids aren't. And I just, but all the so-called intellectuals, as you just talked about, that historically will buy into this because they're invited to the table. They feel special. They feel like since they've been brought into the system, they're going to support it. Don't they have any idea what door they're opening?
Well, no, they don't at the time, because they're so imbued with this utopic concept of, the end justifies the means, and everybody will live happily and share equally, and there will be no wars and be full employment and no poverty and no injustice and all that stuff. They fall for it. They really believe it, and so they work hard for it.
And then they learn it's just guys in black uniforms raping their wife and kicking their eyeballs out.
And then they say, guess we made a mistake. That's what happens.
But too late, you're now in a forced labor camp.
That's right. Well, so we've got to stop that from happening. That's the focus, I think, is not, we know how bad it's going to be. It's just intolerable. You can't even think about it. Anything would be better than that.
And by the way, with Homeland Security and the bullets and the armored vehicles and saying the Patriots are the enemy, they're gearing up and trying to get cops to go along with it. But then you see articles out of like Colorado where just a few months ago they called in the state police, the senior ones, 200 of them, and told them, they said, well, the Christians are the enemy, and are you prepared to confiscate their guns? And state police got them and said, is this a joke? But they were there marking down who was going to go along with it.
Right. And those that didn't go along with it are on a list already. Yep, that's the way it works.
My God, I mean, they're really planning to do this, G. Edward.
They are. There's no question. Well, we've known that for, 50 years. You have to have a set of principles that are based on values that are beyond oneself. I mean, I think that's pretty obvious, because if you are the only reason for existing, well then why not just sell out to the highest bidder or to the most fearsome tyrant? Because
a man's got to have a code to live by, as John Wayne said. And yeah, if you have no rudder, you'll just go join the biggest evil. And that's why once a tyranny comes in, it always degenerates so fast.
Yes, we all have programmed within us this instinct for a higher principle than ourselves. Whether we base it on a religious principle or if we just say it's instinct, we just all have it. Every primitive society, even the ones that worship the god in the volcano, their concepts of deity are far different than ours. They all have this instinct for justice, and sometimes they make great sacrifices of themselves for their family and their loved ones. I think we need to tune in to that sensitivity, that instinct, that innate quality.
Full understanding that the system's corrupt, bouncing your weight, pound for pound. Keep liberty moving from town to town. So check out what's going down, 'cause it is spreading from town to town. It's good to see that you're waking